who are we? CCLA difference what? Difference makers.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I have to give you like a fair warning because Kevin Bracey is a tough act to follow. We are not going to sing and we are not going to dance. And I know you're so sad about that, but I didn't plan that. So we're not doing it. Um, but let's go ahead and get started. So I want to introduce myself. I'm from the Riverside office County Office of Education. Sorry, that was a mouthful. My name is Christalle Hart. I get to work on an amazing team that's here with me. We do literacy and language all across Riverside County, which is Southern California. It's a dream job. We get to live our passions every day, which is so exciting. And I do want my partner in crime, Dr. Ivy, to introduce herself, but you got to use the mic because of the virtual world.
Good morning, everyone. I am here serving as the sidekick and support. Dr. Ivy Ewell-Eldridge. I also work at Riverside County Office of Education, all of us are administrators in the area of ELA, ELD, and literacy, and we are happy to be here supporting this grant. So let's dive in this morning.
And you can't see her if you're in the virtual world, everyone that's here. Over here, we have Jen Geyer, and we want to acknowledge her because she's holding down the virtual fort. She's managing the chat, the breakout rooms. She's keeping us sane. We know if anything goes wrong, she's going to fix it for us. Our team is here and we're happy. And I do want to acknowledge Dr. Princess in the back. You can give a wave, Dr. Princess. She's our director and she really helps guide us and keep us on track when we're trying to get crazy. That happens. All right. So who's in the room? We have table groups. If in virtually, Jen's gonna put you in breakout rooms. I'm gonna try to always acknowledge you in virtual land. Don't let me forget you. But I think it's really important. We have 90 minutes. That's an hour and a half of our lives. We're gonna work together. We're gonna collaborate. Ivy and I are not the knowers of all the things. You guys bring a ton to the room when it comes to literacy language, and I'm learning AI as well, right? Everyone's kind of dipping their toes in it. So I do want to give you a quick few minutes to introduce yourself, your name, maybe your school site, your position, what work do you get to do, where do you come from? Because we're from all over the place, I'm learning. And then if you got it in you, a fun fact you're comfortable sharing with your group. So we have 5 minutes for that. We would whip around, but that'd be kind of weird with the virtual. So you're just talking at your table. Jen, can you give them 5 minutes in a breakout room? Get to know each other, and then we'll come back together and dive into our learning, okay? I'm right here. I don't know if I did. You didn't have breakout. You had them typing in the chat. Yep. It is. All right. So we know Zoom wait time is like crazy, right? Remember when we all like had to do things during the pandemic and we're like, Zoom wait time, I'm gonna wait. And it felt like an eternity. So we're discovering that hybrid PD wait times a whole nother level. So we're gonna come back together, but our Zoom people, remember, they get 60 seconds, a whole minute to come back to the main room. So go ahead and start to sunset those conversations. And when our Zoom people get back, we'll move forward because we want to honor everyone in this space today. So thank you also for being patient with us. We're the first session. We're learning all sorts of things together. So Jen, give me the green light when they're all set. Okay. All right. Welcome back, everyone, from the breakout room and in person. Hopefully, you got to introduce yourself, learn something new about someone from some other place. And now we're going to dive into our goals for today. So, really, everything at this conference is centered around learning acceleration, which we're going to talk about a little more in depth. But we want to understand how can AI, artificial intelligence, really help us build those bridges for literacy development across all content areas, right? Because we know that literacy touches math, literacy touches our social studies, and it lives in our science. So no matter what you're teaching, this should be relevant for you. That's really our goal. And then always, we can't ignore that AI helps our teacher productivity or our admin productivity, whatever seat you sit in. It makes life easier for you. And we want to leverage that, right? We're always talking about our work life home balance. Like I have 3 kids in college. I want to be present for them, right? I know, right? Don't let this blonde hair, it's really gray. um, fool you, but like I missed a lot when I was a teacher and administrator at a high school, and now I'm really focused on how can I leverage AI? It's amazing to help me be more productive at work, not necessarily do more work faster. Do my work, sorry, Dr. Princess, but do my work that's in my scope of work efficiently and well, and then be able to go home and be a really good mom and a really good wife to my husband. So we want to talk about that today because I think that's really important and it's powerful. And then our third goal, always engaging students. This is huge for me. I lived in the STEM and digital literacy world for 8 years at a district office. We want our students to use technology efficiently, but also we want them to be ethical and make good choices. I know when I talk about AI, people always say, well, their students are going to cheat. If I let them, they're going to cheat. Guess what? If you don't let them, they're still going to cheat, right? Like I love my daughter. She's a freshman in college and she's like, yeah, I'm just using Snapchat photo math, like all integrated. Like someone's a genius. They took technology, they took platforms our kids are using, and then they made it a tool to help with learning. And I was like, tell me more about this. But really, there are ways we can embrace this, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever your district guidelines say are appropriate. But how can we leverage AI with our students and have those conversations about using it in a way that's ethical, no matter what grade level they're in? Because I used to teach elementary, and those fourth graders had phones. And this was like a decade ago. I barely had a phone. So you've probably seen this graphic. Thumbs up. Anyone seen this graphic before? Okay, a few. So let's talk about it. So this is actually one of my favorite graphics when we talk about learning acceleration, because to me it makes sense. We don't want to fill holes, right? Go back and fill the gaps that our students have. If I'm teaching third grade, I taught third grade a long time, and I have a student who comes to me, back in the day, I do a pull-out group, and I have to admit, sometimes I wasn't teaching third grade standards, right? I was remediating and trying to fill the holes that way. But really, the idea of learning acceleration is that second picture, building bridges. I need to give my students access to the grade level standards, the rigor of the standard, whether they have an IEP, whether they are a newcomer. I had lots of newcomers, so there was a language barrier. How do I build that bridge to give them access to the content while meeting their needs? And for me, that really hits home. You know, I'm going to share my mom heart a lot, but I had Miranda. She was a Snapchat cheater. She is a AP student. She's good. But my oldest, Andy, who's a sophomore in college, he had an IEP that we had to fight for until he was in middle school. So he just struggled, struggled, struggled. Finally, you know, luckily he had parents advocating. He got an IEP and he was in the right placement and had success. but he needs teachers, or he needed teachers who acknowledge you still get the grade level standards, but I'm going to support you with visuals or sentence frames or whatever the differentiation looked like to serve him. And then my baby Peyton hates school. COVID didn't help. He hated school more. And he had big gaps, always in that boost reading group, always struggling. And then, he's one of the biggest kids. His heart was not in school, and he just tried to shrink and be invisible. And I think the pandemic allowed students to do that. Anyone teach to a blank screen of room with blank screens, right? Do you remember? Yep. Yep. And teachers do it too. Guys, turn your screens on. No, I'm just kidding. We're good. We can teach to it. But when you're teaching kids and their screens aren't on, you're like, your cameras, what is happening? How do I help you? I can't tell if you're confused or you're lost. And he had a couple years of virtual school where he got to hide. So then when he got to high school, his gaps are further. And he's not special education. So I just love this work that the state's doing, because all of my learners in my home, this idea of building bridges really does serve all of our students. So that's my little soapbox. But I do want you to kind of know where everything is coming from in our session today. And so learning acceleration is really a shift in mindset. And for me, I think it's just important for us to know best first instruction. We're already doing it. Just be very, very intentional of what is my standard, what is my learning outcome, and how am I getting all of my learners there. So this slide talks about the 5 components of learning acceleration, and our team really does try to weave these things through all that we do. So you see evidence-based strategies, that's going to be big for us. That's at best first instruction, what you're already doing. Maybe we're going to +1 it and make it a little enhanced, but that exists. UDL, universal design. We want to meet Dr. Hart's Pepe, Miranda, and Andy, right? All those learners in the room. We want to teach to the edges and bring everybody inside. And then you see SELs on there, so you know what's next. It's an icebreaker. No. But really, I think it's so important to connect before content. We need to connect with each other. We need to make a safe place for people to be vulnerable, for students to be vulnerable, and really be able to take risks. And I think for me, that's why SEL is so important. Always when we're doing professional learning or coaching or teaching our teachers or teaching our students. So just real quick for me, and they can drop in the chat, how familiar are you with AI? Fist to 5, 2, okay, yep. Okay. Typically, we're like all over, right? So this is good to know. Thank you. You can put your hands down and Jen will monitor the chat. Really, we want to just make sure I meet you, Dr. Ivy, and I meet you wherever you are. So I love that we're a small group in person. You can ask as many questions as you want. Y'all can put your hands down. You're good. Unless you already got a question. Right. Yeah. That was in lieu of dancing. Just we do want to meet you where you are. So don't be afraid to ask us questions. And if we don't know the answer, we'll find you. We'll ask AI. It'll give you the answer. No, we're here to support you though with AI. So I'm going to show a short little video to help build some foundation. And then our connection before content, our icebreaker, is connected to just some foundational AI usage. So I love that I saw at the tables, we've got FIST and we got 5. You're going to help each other kind of springboard into later. Our actual content is going to be a little more rigorous with using AI, but I promise you'll all be successful. All right, so let's show this video. Sound was working earlier. Oh no. We did a sound check, I promise. No. It did? Oh, what'd he do? That guy. Sorry, guys. Okay, we'll see if we can get help, and if not, we'll skip it. Please hold. He did. It's given me a not happy face. No, he's gone. That's all right. It does, but it says it works here. Well. Oh, Dennis is gonna save the day. Sorry, guys. It is high expectation.
Oh, you have a Mac.
When we sound checked, though, that's the craziest thing.
HDMI. It might be up here then.
Oh, you know what? Probably when I have my music going, someone turned it off. Oh, hit that mute button.
In many
Got it.
cases, machine learning algorithms called neural networks extract information from
Y'all, it takes a team. All right, we're gonna try again.
AI or
Pause. That's why they wanted me to stop playing music. Okay. Third time's the charm. Thank you for your patience. Okay, here we go. I feel good about this.
AI or artificial intelligence is all around us, whether we know we're interacting with it or not. AI refers to a collection of technologies that allow computers to sense, learn, reason, and act. But a far cry from the sci-fi promise of a humanoid robot that thinks like us, AI is currently only capable of specific individual tasks. AI powers the algorithms, the instructions encoded in computer programs that rank search results on the web, tag your friends in photos online, let a smart assistant understand the words you say, and recommend which movie to watch next. AI can also help detect diseases, identify fraudulent credit card purchases, and monitor threatened ecosystems and wildlife. How does AI work? One approach is called machine learning. Equipped with algorithms and vast amounts of data called datasets, AI developers train computer programs to recognize patterns and tackle complex problems. In many cases, machine learning algorithms called neural networks extract information from examples in the training dataset by searching for patterns in multiple steps called layers. Once a program has been trained on a dataset, it can then encounter new scenarios and start making predictions. For example, if the training dataset is a collection of labeled images of cats, and the algorithm instructs the program to identify a cat, a successful image recognition program could then correctly classify a new image as either a cat or not a cat. If a language generator were successfully trained on all of the English text in a library's collection of books and articles, it could then complete an unfinished sentence while obeying the rules of English grammar. This process is not transparent. We have yet to design algorithms universally capable of explaining how they arrive at a particular answer. So we can't know exactly what makes our program so sure it sees a cat, or how exactly it knows that whom is correct, not who. It is just applying its training after being shown a huge number of examples. AI is impressive, but not perfect. Its flaws reflect the data we choose to train AI algorithms, as well as other choices made by the humans who develop these technologies and send them out into the world. Some of these flaws, like those in tools that determine credit scores, evaluate access to healthcare, and even attempt to predict crime, greatly impact human lives. That essential training dataset is a key point of weakness where misconceptions and biases can and do routinely sneak in. Here are some real-world examples where an incomplete or unbalanced training dataset causes unfair outcomes. A self-driving car might not be able to identify a person using a wheelchair in a crosswalk if wheelchair users were not included in the data when it was trained. Facial recognition programs trained on images that disproportionately represent faces with lighter skin exclude people with darker skin tones. We have the power to reduce this embedded bias by creating AI training datasets that mirror the complexity of the real world and lead to equitable and inclusive outcomes, and by building a diverse workforce of AI developers and decision makers. We must also consider social, economic, and ethical priorities when deciding which problems to tackle with AI in the first place. Each of us lives in a world filled with AI. The more we all know about where and how these technologies influence our lives, the better we can advocate for ourselves and others and reach for a more equitable world.
So, going off script, but I've watched this video a million times and I'm like a 5 4 5 with AI. A lot was in there. I want you just to talk at your table something that stood out to you because there's so much before we dive deeper into the content. Like any ahas. Those of you in virtual land, drop it in the chat and Jen's gonna be monitoring that. But turn and talk just for a quick 2 minutes. What'd you think? What stood out? – 60 more seconds for your conversations. All right, fine. Opposite time. You actually have the hardest job in the room. I know. All right, go ahead and bring your attention back over here. Thank your partner. You're about to work with them again in just a few minutes. So, right up here, you see kind of three three AI platforms. For the connection before content, you can use whatever makes your heart happy. But those of you who are ones or twos might not know like right where to start with this activity of using AI. So the first one is ChatGTP. That's my favorite. Me and Chat, I nicknamed it Chatty. Me and Chatty were besties. We talk every day. I'm super nice. I thank it and I greet it good morning because I heard somewhere if you're nice to your AI, it's like gives you better responses. And so if that's true, I just want to make sure I have my bases covered. So I like ChatGTP. That's just my favorite. I don't know why. It just is. That's Mr. Smarty Pants for those of you on virtual. Ooh. I love it. Next is Google Gemini. I don't really know a lot about it, but if you want to try it, go for it. And then the third one is Copilot. And I know there's a bunch of other platforms, but for this day with me, you pick what you want, whatever makes your heart happy. You like the colorful icon, go for it. But here's what we're going to do. This is our connection before content. It's called AI Wordsmith. And guess who made it? AI. No. I humanized it. I did. Me and Chatty, we had a little chat a couple weeks ago, and it said, I really think you should let your participants kind of play with AI doing this activity. And I was like, you know what, Chat? I think you're right. But I added some human elements, right? And that's when we talk about ethics with our students or in your work life. That's a first pass. Always the AI is a first pass. We then add our feelings, our emotions, our prior knowledge to those things. Like you saw in the video when it talks about the self-driving car maybe not recognizing someone in a wheelchair. I was like horrified, right? But it talked about who is adding to that large language model. Well, I know later we're going to look at Brisk. Brisk can have some bias, especially towards our English language learners. And if you think about it, it's because when you do an AI detector for writing, it's looking at, is this a human voice or very mechanical? Well, when we teach our newcomers, especially in high school, when they get it, they're really proficient writers and speakers because we teach them academically. They don't have English slang yet. So AI is like, oh, that's not a human. That's not a human. So it ends up being biased. So I have to use my humanization of reading it and going, oh no, I absolutely know that this is what Carlos knows and this is how he would write it. And I can just ask him, hey, come up here, tell me about your essay. Oh yeah, perfect. So keeping those things in mind. So what you're gonna do for 5 minutes is And this is very open-ended. It can evolve in any way that your table wants. But the idea is just think of a word related to literacy. And there's a few up there. And Dennis, you can do a math word if you want. Go crazy, okay? You guys can use any word, but really prompt, and notice that prompt is in purple and bold because prompting is very important to using AI. I'm gonna let you find that out on your own, what I might mean about that. But just ask your favorite chatty, write me a creative sentence using this word. And you can prompt it more than that or less than that. And then this is how it works. Your table, you say, here's my word. Everyone writes their prompt into their own computer or phone. Write a sentence, however you choose to prompt it. Whip around and read your sentences because we're going to think what's the same, what's different, why, in our debrief. But so we're going to do this for 5 minutes. Everybody whip around, do your own words, share. It's okay if you laugh a little, totally cool. And then in 5 minutes, we're going to come back and talk about the debrief. Any questions? Absolutely. So this is ChatGTP, or you can go Gemini. It's a Google product. Copilot. Those are all free. I know there's more. It's okay if you have another favorite, share with your table too. We're good with that. All right. So find some sort of AI, and here you go. All right, so now we're going to transition to part 2 because we did some exploration, but now what, right? So we need to really think about this and talk about this. And so here's some guiding prompts. You can go off script, it's okay. So, what responses or what did you notice about the AI responses? Did your prompting affect the AI output? And if so, how? And some of you may have already started talking about this, but really, what is the potential you see for AI in accelerating learning with our students? I was cruising by and I heard someone say, I have like 12 IEPs with 12. Like, wow, that's a lot. So, what can AI do to maybe help you serve all those students? Because that's a ton. So, 5 minutes to really talk about it and debrief it now with our teacher hat or administrator hat, whatever seat you sit in. Let's talk about it with each other. And then, same breakout rooms. Thank you, Jen. Yeah, same breakout's good. You're bonding after. All right, all right, all right. So let's do a quick little debrief. My partner, Dr. Ivy, is going to bring you the mic because our people in Zoom land can't hear your responses if you're not on the mic. But I would love to hear some share outs, maybe 3 share outs from the group on any of these or anything else you talked about just before we move on, because y'all have great thoughts and we want to hear those. So, Ivy, do you want to get the microphone for whoever wants to share out?
Too many hands up at once, guys.
Oh, always
I
a
can't
problem.
get everywhere. There we
So my son, who's a 7th grader, used ChatGPT for formative feedback on his essay, which I thought was one of the great things about it is instead of teachers having to read X number of student essays, because that sometimes gets in the way of kids writing more, they could actually teach their kids to plug their essay in and ask specific prompts. So my son had written a 5-paragraph essay and he asked it, told ChatGPT, I'm a 7th grader with a good vocabulary and I'd like one piece of feedback for each one of the paragraphs that I've written. And it replied with 5 bullets, one for each paragraph, that he could do to make his essay more interesting.
I love that. And Dennis was also sharing then that his son had the discernment to say, I like that, I'll do that, I'll do that. This doesn't resonate with me. So high thinking skills, right? That students are still using with supportive AI. Thank you, Dennis, for sharing. Jen's gonna share some further in the chat. Ivy, will you give her the mic? And then we'll do one more in person if someone wants to share.
go. Okay.
Oh,
I wanted to
just
add
kidding.
to that. If either one of you can remember what Dr. Hickman was using when we had the scoring, had the
That's
writing
brisk.
contest.
Yeah, brisk. We're gonna look at that later, hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, then I won't reveal it yet.
No, it's okay. Teaser.
Share one more thing.
Absolutely.
I wanted to share one more aspect of it, just as a cautionary thing, I guess. My son came home and he's like, I can't do that, Dad. My teacher said it's cheating and she'll know. And I sadly had to disagree. I'm like, your teacher won't know. And ironically, he ended up getting the exemplar paper for the class that was held up for everybody else to model, which I thought was quite ironic, because the rest of the class was too scared to use a wonderful tool that can help our students learn.
Right. Know better, do better, right? Even us as teachers, it's how we use the tool.
I'm a reading intervention teacher, and one thing I did for my students who need decodables is I would plug in and say, make a funny story about this name of our school, Cadwallader, and use the sound X or whatever. And then that helped me create something relatable to the kids. I might even put in their names in the story. And then it was a fun way to practice besides using the decodables I already have. So that's something that I did to help with my reading intervention kids.
I love that. I'm going to steal that. You're going to see that in a PD one day. I'll give you credit. No, but that's such a great way to +1 it, right? You made it culturally relevant for your students, because I always hear at the secondary level when I was a high school administrator, those decodables are not relevant to high school kids. Already embarrassed. If I would have known that and done that, I could have served them better, right? Thank you for sharing. Absolutely. Anyone else before we move on?
There was someone over, I can't remember which table,
Uh-oh.
that mentioned entering a text into AI and asking it to change the text to a different lexile level.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a good one especially when you've got newcomers, right? And you're trying to give them access to the content. We're talking about building bridges. Thank you for pointing that out, Ivy. I use that a lot. Bring this down to a 2nd grade reading level. It takes the content's the same. So if you're teaching social studies, science, content's the same, changes the vocabulary, right? So super powerful, really easy. You can do that on your prep or before or after school. You're not doing it at home, laboring over it. I love it. All right, so let's go into some of our content. So now today we're really looking at literacy through a lens of accelerating learning and using AI. We've already got a great springboard and a ton of wealth of knowledge in the room, in the Zoom room. So we're gonna I taught 6th grade for a minute, and I love teaching our ancient civilizations. It was just something so fun because I could see that cross-curricular connection. We had art pieces. AI was not a thing. We did not even have one-to-one devices. We all shared a cart. at the school, the whole school, not even grade levels. So technology wasn't accessible, but it's just such a fun thing to teach. So what our example today is going to be from a 6th grade history standard, but we're really going to explore how AI can help us build those bridges by just what Ivy said, right? Breaking down complex text, making it accessible to all of our students. So these pictures are AI generated. This is Gilgamesh. He looks like he's ready to do some work, right? What we're gonna do is, and this is why you needed the digital version, because instead of printing it out for our Zoom friends, we have a digital forced copy of the article. So I have an article of the Epic of Gilgamesh. Thumbs up, anyone read that before, or a version of it, if you right? So you have a little prior knowledge, so this should be interesting. Typically, our students will not have prior knowledge of this. And here's your task. In your groups at your table and in your breakout rooms, you're going to write just one summary. You all want to read it together. You can decide on how you attack the text, but we just need one 3 to 5 sentence summary. So that's my scaffold for you. 3 is successful, 5 sentences is successful, but we want a summary. And then there's a group summary document. Since we're all in this virtual world, just pick any box. You can write your one group summary. So here's what we're doing. Clicking on this article. Whoops. Click on the article. Make a copy, because some of us like to annotate the text. That's how my brain works. We're going to come to consensus on a summary, and then we're going to throw it in this document. Pick any box that someone's not writing in. Any questions for clarification? Okay, get to work. Yeah, you have 10 minutes, so you have lots of time. However your group wants to attack it, don't worry. We're gonna do, hold on, let me see. Let's do 3 more minutes. Yeah. 3 more minutes for those of you still working. I see lots of good responses. 3 more minutes. Ooh, and I like that you put your name. You guys taking credit. You're like, look what I did. All right. Okay, we're back. So here's what we're gonna do next. We're gonna skip this. We're gonna talk about it later, and we're not gonna have 15 minutes for this. Don't get too excited. We're gonna do it in like 8 because you guys are very proficient. I see you zoom in. Okay, and some of you have already done this. So you're going to take the text, use your favorite AI. Don't forget about what we hinted about with prompting earlier, and have AI summarize it. That's the easy part, right? But then I want you to have a really good discussion with your table group and do a Venn diagram. So let me show you what we're talking about here. So here is the Venn diagram. There's a sample. This is from some teachers I worked with the other day. You can find, you don't have group numbers, find whatever page you want. What was it like when you had to summarize it yourself? You know, some of the strategies you use. You can think from your student perspective too, like, ooh, my students are going to grapple with not having context. There's no images from my ELs, whatever it is. What was easy or hard or bad or whatever you felt with AI? Because some of our AI summaries maybe didn't do what we thought it would do, which could be connected to prompting. And then, you know, in the middle, what were some similarities that you saw? So those of you that are newer with AI, really what I would suggest is taking that article, copy it, paste it, throw it in AI, prompt it however you want, and that'll give you the AI summary. I see some already did it. They were like, I ain't doing this because AI can do it for me. That's okay. That's okay. That's what my kids say too. But always, right? I'm thinking about our learners, our 21st century learners, they're not going to get a job in their job employers and be like, "Can you please summarize the handbook for me?" No. They're going to be like, "Here's the handbook. Now follow everything in there to do a job at a high level." So keeping that in mind, right? With our learners, they need to be college and career ready. And that doesn't mean summarizing a whole lot of things. It means taking that and doing something deep with it, right? Being creative, being innovative. So go ahead and work on that. Let's give you about we'll check the pulse in 6 minutes. And then if we need more time, that's totally fine. So delete. That's a lie. All right, go. Helps keep me. Otherwise, my 6 minutes is like 10 minutes. Oh. Yeah, I think we can. No. Oh, you know what? Do you guys need 2 more minutes or 4 more minutes? 2? Oh, good. We're good. Yeah. No, you're good. They're like 2. We got this. My bad. I thought, ooh, I should take turned it on for you. Oh, 1 more minute. Oh, did you integrate that? Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. All right. All right. Here we go. So you're welcome to keep typing if you want. It's okay. But let's go into a little bit of a debrief, right? So our learning journey has been here's a task with a group I need to summarize, come to consensus, summary, and then here's AI. AI did it for me. And now let's talk and let's see what's similar and what's different. So let's go ahead and do a share out. Those of you that are virtual, you can throw it in the chat and Jen will share with our in-person group. For our in-person group, Ivy's running around with that microphone. You better watch out because proximity, we know what that means as a teacher. She's going to get you and you're going to share. So have something you can share on behalf of your partner. She's not scary, don't worry. But we want to hear any of these or anything off script. Like, as a learner, what did you notice during this activity, right? Coming to consensus, summarizing. AI, did it help simplify or clarify the historical text? Insights, limitations, key points, or anything else you want to share for the good of the order, go for it. And thank you for going first. I appreciate you.
We noticed that there was a lot more higher level vocabulary in what the AI gave to us. And we talked about in human only, we call it kid language. So we put it in kid language so you could really understand. There was a lot more that you had to do on the human side. But something that I think about for my kids is if we're doing this in a group, there's more of a possibility that kids are not all kids are participating. So like one kid might be giving all the answers to it and yeah. But together, like in the middle, there was like a very general idea that was the same in both. So what that could tell us is are the kids really understanding it versus, like versus us reading all of them all together at the same time.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you for sharing. How many of you in this room hated group work because you had to do all the group work, right? Like, absolutely. Anybody else want to share some ahas from the activity?
Online.
All right, we got someone online.
Mary Diggs Floyd shared that AI gave a comprehensive summary of the text.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Love it. Thank you for sharing in Zoom land. What else? Anything else we're thinking that hit you? You experienced? Awesome. Thank you.
This is just in general, but like you have to know what to feed AI in order to get your outcome that you want. So like the first time I just copy and pasted the story before you even finish the directions to write me a summary.
Yep, love it.
And and then I was like, I don't like that summary. And it's not kid language. So then I was like, can you do this for a sixth grader? And we were like, that makes a lot more sense. So like as learners ourselves, we know how to adjust it, but that doesn't mean students, if you're going to teach them how to use it appropriately, doesn't mean that they know how or what to feed it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you shared that and highlighted that because I was watching as you guys were doing your summaries. You guys follow directions amazingly. I've had groups that are like, a little squirrely and they're like, summarize this like Dr. Dre. And then they put it in there, which is highly entertaining. But right, it's AI is going to do what you prompt it to do for good or for bad, right? But it allows you to be very creative. There's all kinds of ways. You could have said, summarize it like Dr. Seuss. Like there's lots of different things. Oh, someone's doing it right now. I see it. There's lots of different ways, but that just really lends itself to the importance of prompting and with the lens always of ethical use, right? Any other thoughts, ahas, ideas?
I want to add to remember to be as specific as possible. And sometimes when we're just communicating with each other, we aren't as specific as give me this spherical shape that is sitting on the left side of the table that has 4 legs and put it in my hand that has 5 fingers type of deal. However, when you start, as you get accustomed to making prompts on AI and then going back and asking it to enhance it or fix it, being specific really, really helps. And that was one of the first things that I learned that has helped me create better prompts, specificity.
Absolutely. And like providing that context, right? It's like when a student comes up with you and you're like, they say, they did this to me back then. And you're like, I don't know what we're talking about. AI doesn't have context unless you give it to it. So a lot of times I'll say, I'm teaching a group of high school English language arts teachers at a school with an 80% EL population. We have 60 minutes. This is what I want to do. Can you give me some ideas, right? That's going to be very different ideas than when I say I'm teaching second grade teachers that at a non-Title I school. So they have 2 English language learners and we've got an hour at PLC. Very different outcomes, right? So keep that in mind for you as an adult learner, but also when you're talking to your students about how to use AI, if that's something that you're bringing into your classroom or your space. So now we're kind of going to, we are going to shift gears to looking at AI from a productivity lens as the teacher. But to Dennis's point earlier, students really need to know how to use feedback, whether it's teacher feedback or AI given feedback. So we're going to look at something called Brisk. Thumbs up if you've used Brisk already. Thumbs down if you have no idea what I'm talking about. Good. Okay, thumbs up. So you feel free to share, absolutely contribute some ahas. This is really a high level overview because we have 30 minutes left, but our gift to you is we're going to end a little early so you can get lunch first. Don't tell Barb, but that's what we're going to do, okay? So let's look at Brisk. We're going to watch a short little video, and then I'll do a live demo, and then you can play a tiny bit, and we're out of here, okay?
What did you do after school yesterday? Imagine if your free time was actually free. With Brisk, you'll get at least 10 hours of free time back every week. Imagine what you can do with that. Access over 30 time-saving tools from the side of your screen. Instantly craft slides, quizzes, lesson plans, resources, and more from anywhere you are on the internet. Leave feedback on that pile of essays before lunch is over. Share any online content, articles, YouTube videos, and more directly to students and create safe, interactive learning experiences with Brisk Boost. See a video playback of your students' writing process from start to finish. Time's on your side with Brisk Teaching, the free Chrome extension for educators.
All right, so you heard free, right? Like I love free. It did say Chrome, so if you don't use Chrome as your web browser, you would want to use Chrome because it's an extension. And so really what I love, so when I taught 5th and 6th grade, we departmentalized, so I had all of the genre writing. I think they were hazing me in a major way because I had 100 essays. Like for elementary, that's unheard of. Secondary is like, yeah, all the time, right? So I had a lot of writing to grade. And remember, this is before technology. So I would lug all those essays to the baseball field, the softball field with my cute little flare pens and my rolly cart. I never really graded any of them because I was watching my kid. Good intentions. Lug them back to school. Weeks go on, right? So my students were not getting real-time feedback. It becomes less and less relevant for them, and it's a lot of work for me. Well, Brisk is going to not only do all these things, but I really want to highlight this part. It's going to give students writing feedback directly on Google Docs. So if you use Google Docs, this is like a plus for you. And teachers, you can watch a video. I love this. Like there's other apps that do this, but you can watch a video playback of student revisions. This is important because I remember one time clearly giving the district writing assessment and I'm watching in Google Classroom and I see nothing on a page and then a whole lot on a page. So I'm going in the revisions. Well, after conversation with the student, they absolutely confessed to, I wrote it at home and then I copied and pasted it into, and we won't talk about how we got access to the prompt because that's a whole nother story, but those things we want to keep our kids honest all the time and have conversations. So if you have a little suspicion, you can see, did a big chunk suddenly appear? They probably copied and pasted. Let's talk about that. So if you've never added a Chrome web browser, you do have to be using Chrome, like I said, but you'll Google Chrome Web Store, search for Brisk. It looks just like this. And then you add that extension to Chrome. And essentially what it's going to do is you give it permissions to your Google Drive and all those things. And if you're comfortable with it, I added it, and now we work together. So you can add that while I'm sharing about this. Let me show you. So here is, I can show you Chrome Web Store. You'll want to go there. You can search Brisk. It'll be the first one. You want to hit, it'll say add, right? So this is just a little taster. I don't want to go too fast, but I do want to make sure I'm good to my word and I get you out of here for lunch early. So you'll add it, and then you'll see I have now this little tiny icon right down here, this Brisk icon. So I'm going to go to right here. Here's some writing. This is a student writing sample. And I'm a big asset-based person, right? Let's start with what's good. So you've heard the glows. I love Brisk has glows, and then it goes to grows, right? If you've ever watched that Rita Pearson TED Talk, right? She says where I put the +2 instead of the -18, it ain't all bad, right? You've got something good. Always start with what's good. So when you click on the little Brisk icon, you'll see Glow and Grow, and this is a free feature, and it's going to do it. You can do different languages. We're going to do English, standard AI. You can embed standards. We're not going to go into that, or rubrics you can upload. That might be a paid feature. But this is supposed to be a 4th grader. You can adjust the grade. And we're doing glow, you did something good, and grow, and then you click brisket. So feedback will appear soon. You see all that. Now, I love this because remember, we said we always humanize the AI. It's a starting point. That might be too many words for your 4th grader, so you could read it and then you could change it. But for this, I'm just going to say, love it, copy all, insert. Now on the top of my students' writing, so if you're using Google Classroom, you just embed it on there. Here it is. You did a great job. Your writing shows you understand it. I like how you blah, blah, blah. Grow. One area of improvement is to add more details about the beliefs. So they're saying get more text evidence, which I was always talking about with my students. And I love this. For example, it's talking about sentence structure. So imagine you give that to your students and then you say, now go back, because this is some formative assessment. We're growing together, not summative. They can edit. And then I really like this, wondering. This is an extension piece. So you can see how quick that was. You can go through that in a prep period a lot faster than you can go through giving customized feedback. But you always want to read the student work first. But such a huge game changer for us. And then your students can use that feedback to make changes, and they're becoming better writers in a much more timely manner. And you now have a lot more time to do the things you love at home, because this has taken, I feel like, hours and hours of work off. One other thing you can see right here that you can make a quiz. So let's say I had that Gilgamesh article for you all, and I wanted to turn it into a quiz. So we'll take this text. You just hit quiz, and then you can say 4th grade. I don't want short response because I'm not grading nothing tonight. And it's a ticket out the door, 2 questions. And I'm going to say a DOK 1 and 2. We'll make it easy peasy. And I can put it in a doc or a form, just like that. Create a new form, Brisk it for me, and then you can upload that through Google Classroom. So Brisk, that was like a super teaser. We really could do a whole day PD on that, but we're not gonna, because we're gonna go to lunch. So with that, my team, we just want to say thank you for engaging. Thank you for grappling with AI and how it can help accelerate learning by building bridges for learners. Thank you for tasting a little bit of Brisk, which I'm sure you're gonna love and learn more about. And just thank you for doing the hard work for your students. It's lunchtime. Y'all can go enjoy, and we appreciate you. We'll hang out if you have questions. But that's the end of this session. So thank you. You're welcome. Oh, and don't forget about feedback. I think it's in the app. You can do it later. Right? Is in the app.